Josh Gibson might be the greatest Major League Baseball player of all time, even if he never actually played in Major League Baseball. Gibson allegedly hit a 565-foot home run and 962 home runs throughout his career, even if these are his official stats. He also is the new official leader in career batting average, slugging, and OPS, although technically he hasn't qualified for any of these titles. Some reports said Gibson had never not had a 500 batting average, others have said he hit over 80 home runs in a single season, and even one of the greatest pitchers of all time said he would be worth 10 times more than Hall of Famer Ted Williams in MLB. However, most of his legendary stats cannot really be confirmed due to the fact that his league didn't keep accurate stats throughout his career. He played till he was just 34 years old due to an untimely death for the legendary slugger, the same year Jackie Robinson broke the MLB color barrier. Let's talk about how the greatest baseball player of all time never stepped foot in MLB. Josh Gibson didn't start playing organized baseball until he was 16 years old, when he played his first amateur game for the Gimbels department store team since he was employed by them. Yes, that Gimbels. After dominating these games, he was signed by the semi-professional team, the Pittsburgh Crawfords, where he was asked to play third base, even though he'd eventually become a catcher in the Negro Leagues. And please subscribe to my channel right now. I'm begging you. I'm doing so much research on this topic that may or may not even be accurate, so please just subscribe for my efforts. And while you're at it, who do you think is the greatest MLB player of all time? Let me know in the comments. 2 years later, Gibson was signed by the Memphis Red Sox. No, not those ones. However, after just one game, the Red Sox manager released Gibson due to not being impressed with his catching ability, even though the 18-year-old went 2 for 4 in his professional debut with the Red Sox. The next 3 seasons of Gibson's career are not exactly known due to the absolutely horrible record keeping from the Negro Leagues, but it seems like he was playing minor league baseball for the Homestead Grays before moving back to the Pittsburgh Crawfords, where he made it up to the official Negro Leagues. Now, let's talk a little bit about how the Negro League seasons work. The league never had a set amount of games being played each season. However, generally the season ranged from 60 to 80 games, and then also included 40 to 60 exhibition games that were not counted statistically. However, they weirdly kind of counted in some historians' eyes. This is one of the reasons why it's so confusing to know exactly how good Gibson was. The official numbers, and I mean official lightly in this case, are going to be the ones that are on Baseball Reference, even though, like I said, there are many different accounts of what happened in these exhibition games throughout his career. In Gibson's first career season, he batted .395, hit 18 homers, and had a .217 OPS plus, meaning he was 117% better than the average player in the Negro Leagues. He was selected to be an all-star in his first career season after playing 68 official games. Supposedly, according to some sources, including exhibition games, Gibson hit .467 with 55 homers in just 135 games across all levels. We will never know how accurate these numbers truly are. However, these numbers are obviously ridiculous no matter what level of competition he played. Even if he was playing preschoolers, this level of production would have been insane. I'm not going to go over every single season of his career because that would take far too long, so we will just go over some of the greatest moments of his career. 3 seasons later, in 1936, Gibson allegedly hit 84 homers in 173 games, across all levels and including exhibition games. Obviously, this would be the single season home run record for MLB, which is currently held by Barry Bonds, who hit 73 in 2001. However, Baseball Reference says he hit just 18 homers in official games, so that's in the record books, and Bonds will still be the official single season home run leader. In 1943, Josh Gibson had the most insane season in MLB history, where he batted .466 with a .560 on base percentage and an over .800 slugging percentage. But the craziest part was an insane 1.427 OPS, which would be the second best single season mark in MLB history, since that is now something that will go into the books. And the best is his own in 1937, where he had a 1.474 OPS. The previous leader was Barry Bonds in 2004 with a 1.421 line. Also in 1937, Gibson had the highest slugging percentage in a single season with an otherworldly 974 slug, which will never even come close to ever being touched. This is because he hit 40 extra base hits in just 39 games, including 20 home runs. And again, these are official games. One source from the 1940s said that throughout Gibson's 10-year career, he didn't have a single season where he had under a 500 batting average. And in 1941, Walter Johnson, one of MLB's best all-time pitchers, said that Gibson would be worth over $200,000 on an MLB team, which is exactly 10 times more than Ted Williams was making in 1941. Gibson also supposedly had a 4-home run game in 1938, which will not be added to the record books because of no official game scorecard being found for the game. However, it's still worth mentioning as another potential record on the leaderboard, although I don't know how they have that record if they don't have the official stats, but that's for later. Many of these stats from the Negro Leagues are definitely something that could be changed in the future after more research is done and proper calculations are found. Or maybe they'll never change. It's almost impossible to know right now. However, on Gibson's MLB Hall of Fame plaque, he is credited with hitting almost 800 home runs, while other sources have him hitting over 960 home runs throughout all levels of his career. Both of these, of course, are more than the MLB leader Barry Bonds. However, officially, Gibson hit just 166 homers. This is a weird discrepancy between the plaque and the official stats. Throughout the 14 years of Gibson's career, in just 3 seasons did Gibson play above 50 official games due to the length of the Negro Leagues season. Gibson tragically passed away the same season that Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier with a stroke. Gibson was just 34 years old at the time and surely would have been able to enter Major League Baseball late in his career like another Negro League legend, Satchel Paige, was able to do before retiring. With the stats out of the way, let's talk about how much we can consider Josh Gibson the greatest player of all time, because I have my issues with it. First off, and most importantly, he did never actually play a single game of Major League Baseball. The MLB considers the Negro Leagues as an official MLB league at this point, so it's hard to completely discredit what Gibson accomplished, which would be stupid anyway. However, when comparing him to someone like Barry Bonds, there are just so many differences. First off, the volume at which he played. Now that these stats are not just official, but also heading into the record books, there needs to be a true discussion about what makes a player an all-time great. To qualify for the batting average career best list, you need to have over 3,000 plate appearances, which include walks and hit by pitches, while at-bats do not. If you achieved that, you can be considered for the all-time batting average leaderboard. Josh Gibson had just north of 2,500 plate appearances throughout his career, meaning, according to Baseball Reference's own rules, he should not be allowed to qualify as the career batting average leader. However, it seems like since the Negro League season was so much shorter, they will be reducing those numbers for those players, making Gibson the all-time batting average leader over the previous leader, Ty Cobb. Ty Cobb had 12,000 plate appearances, while Gibson had just 2,500. However, even with this massive difference in plate appearances, Cobb is now going to be dethroned as MLB's all-time batting champion by Gibson's 372, beating Cobb's 367. Gibson is also going to be taking over as the all-time slugging leader for a career over Babe Ruth, as well as the OPS title, which will also be over Ruth. Along with that, Barry Bonds' single-season best 863 slugging will drop all the way down to 5th place on the board, with 4 other seasons from the Negro Leagues passing Bonds, with Gibson of course leading the way at over 100 points higher than Bonds. Now, especially with single season, there is a lot of controversy for an obvious reason. MLB seasons are 162 games, while Negro League seasons were usually less than 50 games. For example, let's talk about the new single-season slugging record. Josh Gibson played just 39 games in 183 plate appearances, which obviously qualified for the Negro League standard due to the fact that his team only played 64 games that season. Barry Bonds, however, needed 503 at-bats to qualify for the single-season record books, due to his team playing 162 games. Personally, I just don't think it's fair to judge that much of a discrepancy. Stats are just so much easier to manipulate over 200 plate appearances rather than 600, it's just not even funny. For example, Aaron Judge is slugging over 1,000 in his last 15 games, which would obviously be higher than Gibson's 974 slug, which he did in 39 games. So Judge is 1/3 of the way there if he can keep it up. See why it's kind of dumb to say that works? Gibson sadly didn't get a chance to qualify in a single season of his career according to the MLB's 503 plate appearance rule for a single season qualification, which again is a damn shame in the first place and extremely ignorant of old America that he wasn't given an opportunity to play just because of the color of his skin. But the truth is, he didn't get the chance. Is it weird he's now going to dethrone many historical stats that may have never been touched? I believe so. And this is not a racist take. I already know all the comments I'm going to get about racism, but in my opinion, the greatest player of all time is Barry Bonds. So I'm not discrediting him for old fat white man Babe Ruth or anything like that. I'm discrediting him against Barry Bonds, who I know also has his own asterisks attached to. The final thing I want to say is that if Josh Gibson becomes the all-time leader in these stats that he's about to, then Ichiro Suzuki should become the all-time hit leader due to being able to add stats from the Japanese league, which is also a professional league. Willie Mays was given 10 extra hits on his baseball reference page, and Minnie Minoso is now a member of the 2000 hit club because of those additional Negro League hits as well. So if that happened for them, I think we should also consider Ichiro the all-time hit leader over Pete Rose, who's a terrible person anyway. Either way, Josh Gibson might be the greatest baseball player of all time. Either way, it doesn't really matter. All of these players are extremely talented, and whoever you think the greatest player ever is realistically valid as long as you can support it in some way. I hope I didn't come off as too ignorant in this video. Again, let me know who your all-time GOAT is, and hopefully you learned a little something about Josh Gibson.